they came in and I guess it was Walter Stone that said, "We got you covered." Instead of giving up, the 17-year-old fires one shot towards where he heard the sound. Well, that's all it needed. They wound up killing all 5 of them, all right? 2 were right here where the door of the kitchen, 2 were here by the bar, and the 5th kid, in front of the bar, there was a 10-light door. He was so desperate to get away, he ran right through that glass door, all those glass, a 10-light door, went right through the door, went outside, but what he didn't know, there was a cop outside with a Thompson machine gun, and he blew the kid right back into the restaurant. Okay, because of what happened there almost cost me my life, because what those kids did had a profound effect on my life, and I almost got killed because of what they'd done, all right? So, the restaurant was closed for 3 months. It was all shot to pieces, all right? And the 5 kids were dead. The governor, for what Walter Stone done, they made him head of the state police. Walter Stone, for years, was head of the state police,
yeah,
for killing all those boys. So now I'm unemployed. And I said, well, what am I going to do? I ain't got no money.
And how old again?
What?
How old are you, just to make sure?
By then I was 17.
Okay. Yeah.
I was 17 years old. So I got the Sunday Journal, went over to Tebow's house, and I went to the want ads, and sure enough, in the want ads, it says, looking for young man, will train, and not scared of height, and is free to travel. I said, you know what? Boy, I feel that bill. So it was in the Turk's Head building in Providence. So I got on the I didn't have a car. I got on the trackless trolley and went to to their office. I filled out a form, and he said, "You're not scared of heights, son?" I said, "No, I ain't scared of anything." No. He said, "Well, are you free to travel?" I said, "Yeah." Well, when can you leave? I said, "How about next Monday?" He says, "Fine. We'll pick you up at 8 o'clock. So, well, I was all ready. I had a trunk, like an army trunk, and I put all my early possessions in there, and sure enough, at 8 o'clock, he picked me up, and he says, we're going to Scranton, Pennsylvania. Oh. So as we drove along towards Pennsylvania, he would see a smokestack. He said, "You think you can get up that?" "No problem." "A church steeple?" "No problem." Whatever. That's no problem. So finally we arrived in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and went to the hotel and put me in the hotel. And the next day he took me out to the job site. He drives up and I take a look. 2 twin stacks. 2 twins made of concrete, 365 feet high, each one. And Mr. Mother says to me, "You can climb that?" "No problem." Well, the truck came at the hotel and picked us up, and I had bought some new clothes, work clothes and stuff. And they put me on the back of the truck with my feet hanging down like this. Here, I was sitting on the truck, and we were going to the job site. Guess what? Those guys just didn't like me right from the get-go. One guy put his foot in my back and pushed me off right in the street. And the foreman happened to look in the mirror and see me tumbling in the street. He said, "Oh, Christ, I should have never put him back there with them guys," Ripped all my clothes up. I was all banged up, Oh. So anyways, we went on the job. Up the ladder we went. 365 feet, and it had a floating scaffold that goes up and down the thing. It was halfway, and you had to climb up. The stack is like this here, and the ladders are like this here. and there's two planks like this here for the staging. In order to get on the staging, you can't go up on this side. You have to come up on the ladder, put your hand over and grab the thing, and let your feet go, and bring this hand around and grab the edge of the staging and pull yourself up on the staging. That's how you get up there. Well, anyways, I had to do it twice before we got to the top. So I worked for them for maybe 2.5 years, and I seen 5 guys killed. So finally, after working all over the United States, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Kentucky, Ohio, I was gone for 2.5 years. But when I lived in the car, I had this friend, Smitty, who lived on McGill Street. I said, you know what? I have to register for the draft. Can I use your address, 178 McGill Street? Yeah, go ahead. Little did I know that was going to really bite me. So that's what I did. So I finally, we came to Rhode Island, and when we got to Rhode Island, my mind was made up that I wasn't going back out with them again at all. Because after seeing 5 guys killed, I said, you know, I've had it. I don't want. So when we come back to Rhode Island, we worked at Imperial Knife and the Superman building. Then the last 2 jobs I did as a steeplejack, the Superman building, at the top of it where the stock was, there was 4 concrete eagles on the floor, north, south, east, west, on the corner. That was our job. We had to take those things off. We had to put a ramp, a cover over the sidewalk in case a piece of concrete got away from us. So we did that. After we finished that, we went over to Imperial Knife, and we worked at Imperial Knife. And Wednesday, the new guy, he was supposed to get married Saturday, and Wednesday, I don't know why he did that. It was we had a floating scaffold on the building, and in order to get on the staging, you go through a window and you kind of jump onto the staging. Don't put your foot like this in and push the staging away. That's what he did. He made a mistake. He put, from the window, he put his foot on the staging. The staging went like this here. He went up and went down. He landed head first right on the sidewalk, killed him. And he was supposed to get married this coming Saturday. I said, boy, that's number 6. I said, and I had a couple of close calls myself. As a steeplejack, my job was to ladder the stock. The ladder the stock, 365 feet. I have to put the ladders on. They're the type of ladder that the window washers use, where they nest together like this here. And they're 15 feet and they lose a foot each time they last together. And I have 3 1/4-inch lengths, one at the bottom, one at the top, and one at the middle. And I have a little gin pole where they could pull me up another ladder. And I just keep going up the thing, laddering the thing, and well, that was my job. But we went to, I may not have this in order. Then we went to another job, and
You're just going on how dangerous it was. But so now you're about 17, 18, and you said you had registered for the draft.
Yeah. So all right, we'll just move ahead a little. So while I was gone, and I used that address, I registered for the draft. This is where I damn near get killed. I registered for the draft. I was gone for 2.5 years. When I come home, Mrs. Smith said to me, "You better get down to the draft board. They are furious with me. They think that you're hiding me."
Ignore it.
Yeah, right. So I said, okay. So I got cleaned up and I went down to the draft board. And I walked in there and there was a master sergeant sitting out front here, and inside the captain had his office behind him. And he had ribbons up to here and chevrons up there. This guy's been in the Army his whole life.
Yep.
So, So I walked in, and the sergeant, the master sergeant, says to me, he had a nickname for me. How you doing there, Bucky? I said, okay. I said, my name's Tom Dailey. I hear you looking for me. He yelled up to the captain, I got him, he's here. The captain come running out, and,
Oh, goodness.
and he said, where the hell have you been? I said, well, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida.
Which they don't want to hear.
What's he about? He said, well, I'll tell you what. We'll give you 48 hours to get in the military. If you're not, we're going to put you in the military. I said, I don't want to go infantry, you know. I said, don't worry about that. So I had 48 hours, so I left. I said, you know what am I going to do? I said, the Marines, the Marine Corps, they're very well trained, they're very disciplined, you know. I said, that's for me, you know. So I got down for the Marine Corps. So the Marine Corps' desk is here, and over here is the Navy desk, you know. So I said, I'm not interested in the Navy. I said, I'm a Marine. So I go and fills out the paperwork for the Marine. So he says, you mind if you have a physical? I said, yeah, go ahead. So I had a physical. Then when the physical was all done, he took my form and he put it on his desk like this here, and he picked up a red pencil and a ruler, and my name was right here, and he put it on there with a red line right through it. And I looked at him, I said, what's that all about? He said, we're looking for few good men. You ain't one of them. I said, what? He says, I said, what the hell, what's wrong with me? Yeah. He said, you got ichthyosis. I said, what? He said, you got ichthyosis. I said, what the hell is ichthyosis? He said, you got dry skin. Dry skin, you cannot get in the Marine Corps. Well, I'll be. So, of course, I walks out of there, and the Navy guy sees me come out, and I'm ticked off. So the Navy guy says to me, what happened there, Buckeye? I said, the Marine Corps just turned me down and told me I got ichthyosis. I changed it to ichthyosis. And the Navy guy says, we don't care where you itch in the Navy. He said, just use the same paperwork and you're off to the Navy base and you're in the Navy. Yeah. I said, you know what? After I seen those two destroyers turned upside down and 6,000 guys drowned like a rat, I said, no, I don't think the Navy's for me. And then those Pearl Harbor, those guys with the ship upside down, I'm going to pass on that. No. So my 48 hours is up. So I go back to the Army guy, and I said, hey, I try to get in the Marine Corps. I got ichthyosis. I'm not going in the Navy. I didn't think of the Coast Guard or the Air Force. I didn't think of going there, but then, well, he said, it looks like you're going to have to go infantry. Sorry, you know. So he says, you know what? I said to the Marine officer, I said, I'll tell you what. Bring your 2 Choppers Marines over here, and I'll mop the floor up with both of them, and I'm not kidding, you know. Boy, you're a tough little kid. I said, hey, I wasn't brought up, I was dragged up. I lived on the other side of the track. You were going to mess with me. I'll flatten you in a minute, you know. So he says, you know what? You sound like a tough little kid. He said, I got something for you, but you're going to have to put another year on your enlistment. Instead of 2, you're going to have to go to 3. But you will not go in the infantry, you know. Oh, he says, this is dangerous. It's tough. They drink, they punch each other out. Oh, boy, this is for me, you know. Oh, I said, what is it? He said, you want to go 1 more year? I said, yeah, okay. You're going to go to Fort Breckenridge to the tank company. Whoa, a tank. So I said, yeah, I'll take that. So I go home and I get a telegram not to go to Fort Breckenridge. Oh, where am I going? I got a telegram. I'm to go to Camp Pickett in Virginia instead of the 325th Tank Battalion. Oh, so that's where I had to report to. And I said, that's closer to home and then to Breckenridge. So I went to this tank school, and these guys were all from World War II, and they were well schooled in the Sherman tank, you know. So I went to the school there, and I must have been there about 6 months. And we learned to fire all the guns and everything about the tank and everything. Then it came the big day.